It seems like it's me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Commissioner, great to have you back with us and to see you again, and appreciate all your hard work and dedication on our behalf. And by that I mean not just the Western senators and the Western governors, but everyone in this country is rethinking their relationship with water and where it comes from and how it's gathered and how it's stored, largely because of what you and we all have been doing with the Colorado River and with all the Western issues. And I'm sure you remember that we're still working. My son, Jack, hasn't spoken a word yet, but every time I see him, I say, oh, and that's to get him to that point where his first word will be Ogallala, just because this is one of the largest underground reservoirs that we have ever seen. So thanks for being here. I wanted to thank you specifically for the bill that I'm co-leading with Senator Romney of Utah, the legislation to reauthorize the Bureau of Reclamation's role in two programs that really are delivering big results for fish and for water users and for habitat in the Upper Colorado Basin. And as you know well, for over 3 decades, a coalition of tribes, all levels of government, water users, stakeholders have worked to try to recover 4 endangered and threatened fish species in the Upper Colorado and the San Juan River basins. In returns for efforts to help the fish, like restoring habitat and stocking fish, the programs have enabled Upper Basin water users to secure Endangered Species Act compliance for over 2,500 different water projects, using well over 3.5 million acre-feet every year. This is obviously a big deal for the Upper Basin, especially considering that, every Bureau of Reclamation project upstream of Lake Powell relies on these programs for ESA compliance. Cities, ski areas, industrial, agricultural users all rely on these recovery programs, and these programs work. They make a huge difference. So it's not surprising they have such broad support, critical to the economies and our native fish. And I certainly look forward to advancing this bill to make sure they get the resources they need. So my question then is, why are these recovery programs important for the Upper Basin's water management first? And then why is it so crucial for Congress to pass a long-term extension with adequate levels of funding to implement these recovery programs?
Senator, I think you said it best already, that this program provides our ability to meet our mission with compliance to 2,500 projects, but it's also a successful program in bringing back the species. We were able to downlist the humpback chub as part of this. And so it's not just a good for meeting our mission and delivering water and producing hydropower, but we're also being able to bring back these species.
Yeah, today the humpback chub, tomorrow the razorback sucker. You beat me to it. Back in April when we met in southeastern Colorado to break ground on the Arkansas Valley Conduit, which is a major water infrastructure project that a lot of people in the rest of the country haven't heard of, but it's going to deliver clean water to 50,000 Coloradans who really haven't had a consistent, reliable source of clean water. We worked with you on the bipartisan infrastructure law funding to make sure we move this project along, recognizing it's been 6 decades since the conduit was first authorized. When we were first on the ground together in the spring, I asked you to help shorten the timeline because it was had been so long, but to really try and get this done. And maybe you could just give us a general update. I know that you don't have specifics, but I think a general update is useful just because it's a way of demonstrating what I already know and appreciate is how much effort you and your team have put into this. And it's one of those little projects that's never going to be in the New York Times, but it is a big deal for those 50,000 Coloradans.
We're incredibly proud of our work on the Arkansas Valley Conduit, and thank you, Senator, for your support of reclamation with the bipartisan infrastructure law. When we were together in April, it was $60 million for that program to start and finish mostly Boone Reach 1. When we talk about generational investments, this is one of them, dedicated by President Kennedy, 60 years, and here we are with a path forward not just for Reach 1, but for the entire project. And so stay tuned, Senator, because we're hoping to be able to make more investments on Arkansas Valley Conduit, along with other projects like this in the West.
Great. Well, we appreciate it. It's been, for too long a time, it's been ignored, not just the conduit, but so many of these smaller projects. Last question, and the nice thing about sitting in as a chair is you get to take a couple extra minutes if you need it.
Sure.
Who says that power doesn't have its privileges? Congress provided $4 billion in funding for drought in the Colorado River Basin through the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, including long-term durable water conservation solutions. So how will the work that you're doing now with the IRA funds support a more resilient future, especially as we look to the next round of negotiations? Seems like you get one set of negotiations done, and then you got another one right there. But this next round will, be for management agreements that will expire in 2026. After that that will expire in 2026. But what can we expect also to see the long-term IRA funding opportunities roll out in the Upper Basin?
Thank you for that level of funding, because it has allowed us to make significant progress within the entire basin. The approach of Congress there is to be able to utilize a significant part of that funding for long-term durable projects. So we put out in the Upper Basin what's called a pre-solicitation notice of tell us what we should look at as parameters to fund. Our goal is then to release a request for proposals later this summer in the Upper Basin for those long-term durable projects in order for us to make decisions on awarding those funds later this year. We already have a similar process in the Lower Basin where we have a request for proposal open to August, and we look forward to reviewing those as well. Terrific.
And, in the front hall of my home in Denver, I have a painting by a wonderful Western artist named Willie Matthews. And he calls it politics, but it's a picture of two old, scuffed boxing gloves. And then around the perimeter of the painting, it's a watercolor, but it's very representational, intensely realistic. There's a stick, and then a carrot, and then a stick, and a carrot. And I just wanted to commend the Bureau of Reclamation because you've done a great job of using both carrots and sticks to impel all the Western states to sit down at the table and to recognize that by working together, there are going to be a lot more carrots than there would be sticks. And I think it's been a great example of one of those times where government has worked the way it should, and I start with the Bureau of Reclamation, but it's allowed the water experts and the governors and the senators in the Lower Basin and Upper Basin states to make real progress, and I think demonstrate that people with common interests can actually find compromise and an alignment of interest, and it wouldn't have happened with your work without your work at the top. All right, so thank you for being here. I want to thank all my colleagues and today's witness for participating in today's joint legislative and oversight hearing. Members are going to have until close of business tomorrow to submit additional questions for the records. The subcommittee now stands adjourned.